Picture a child lost in a factory of nightmares. A tear-catching monster prowls the shadows. An obscure fantasy horror that feels like Pan's Labyrinth meets Mad God. Today, we unearth this buried gem. This is Moon Garden.
There would still be magic.
Welcome back to the Vault Dwellers. So, what is Moon Garden? Moon Garden is a 2022 US indie horror fantasy. Written and directed by Ryan Stevens Harris, it stars Haven Lee Harris, Emma, Augie Duke, the mother, and Bryony Davis, the father. Now, the story is, after a family argument and accident, little Emma falls into a coma. In that state, she enters a surreal industrial wonderland haunted by a nightmarish specter called Teeth. You'll see that a lot in the film. That feeds on her tears. Now, Emma follows her mother's voice on a static radio, trying to find her way back to consciousness. Moon Garden is a homegrown labor of love. It took years in the making with a big emphasis on practical effects. As Harris says, Oscilloscope was their dream distributor for this dark fantasy. It was even called gorgeous work with a sweetheart at its center. One of the big questions for this obscure movie is, why haven't we heard of Moon Garden? It's not because it's bad. Many critics have praised this movie, but because it had a tricky release. After festival buzz in 2022, its US theatrical run was tiny, just little tiny. It skipped most markets until Shudder picked it up in 2024. In other words, a 5-year-old girl in a coma isn't your typical mainstream horror logline, and it took a while for word of mouth to spread. The film only played in a few indie theaters. Moon Garden premiered at a Dances with Films in June of 2022, but didn't get a minimal theatrical release until May 2023. No major marketing, nothing like that. Now, the genre and tone, it's fantasy horror, not jump scare, slasher, none of that kind of vibe. The vibe is, let's say, well, I would say it's artsy, okay? Right filters, stop motion, which can alienate a lot of the general audiences. The distributor targeted horror fantasy fans, but it missed the Halloween of 2022-2023 season, which I would say really hurt this film. We also have to take into fact that the competition and timing of this movie in 2022 and 2023 had many big horror titles. Studio sequels, franchises, revivals. A small indie needs time to build an audience, right? It needs momentum, like a snowball going down a hill. Moon Garden also mixes child drama with horror, limiting festival slots to family genre feats only. Which I'm not sure why, because there's some pretty crazy, scary moments in this film. We also got taken to the obscurity factor. We didn't see coverage from big outlets. Most write-ups are niche horror blogs. Even Rotten Tomatoes shows few reviews of this movie. You know, it's really under the radar.
Everything can't work all the time.
The movie's dreamlike logic, though, might not click with fans wanting gore. It's more metaphorical than merciless. It needed a patient audience. Thankfully now, though, on Shudder, more people are discovering it. And let me tell you, when I found this movie and I watched it, I was completely floored at just how immersive, how beautiful, and how creepy this industrial, imaginative world is. And the young actress who plays the girl, fantastic job. Now, since this movie went under the radar and I have become a pretty big fan of it, I want to talk about why this movie absolutely rules. Now, why do we love Moon Garden? Well, 3 reasons: visual style, emotional heart, and creativity. Now, let's break those down a little bit, okay? Moon Garden is a feast for the eyes. Every frame is meticulously composed, okay? It looks handmade. And in the film, they use expired 35mm grain and old lenses to give it that dreamy glow to it. Harris mixes live action sets with stop motion puppets and miniatures. Now, remember that creepy teeth monster I was talking about? A coat and a hat puppet? Its designs made its jaw snap openly realistic with no CGI, and that practical effect is genuinely chilling. I can still hear it. Creepy. It's enough to make your skin crawl for days. It's a fine display of camera tricks, stop motion, animation, and miniatures, which I love it all. It's its own unique fantasy realm. I would compare it to Terry Gilliam and maybe a bit of Tim Burton in there as well, but enough to stand out as its own style. Moon Garden is a sight to behold. You can feel the sweat pouring into every frame. The deep reds, rusty browns, and flickering candlelight. It's like an abandoned factory in a bad dream. Literally, that's what it feels like. The cinematography often frames Emma in tight spots to show how small she is. Small little actress. Then cuts wide to show the twisted world around her. And what really makes this film pop is the sound and the atmosphere. The sound design is haunting. There's minimal dialogue. Instead, unsettling noises and music tell the story.
Of the sing-song of children, the kingdom faded into a grave.
For example, Emma carries a static radio that coughs up snippets of her mother's voice. The ambient score is sparse, long low notes, children's lullabies played backwards, clanking metal, and in many scenes, silence itself becomes loud. It's just Emma crying or gasping. It's very rare that you see a director being able to scare you with silence. The creature sounds. Teeth has no normal voice. It's just a menace. It's a menace. It's made by rattling chains and scraping metal. It's effective because we barely see it. Our ears imagine the worst. And then the number 3 is the heart and performance. At its core, Moon Garden is about trauma and healing, and the emotional honesty makes it stand out. Emma is an actual 5-year-old. The director's daughter was about 5 to 7 during the filming process. Her performance is incredibly natural and touching.
Imagine how you get there.
Thank you.
She is adorable, and she does a great job propping this film up on her shoulders and carrying it. And the actors that play her parents are both very believable. Harris avoided clear villains. In interviews, he stressed there's no real clear villain here. The mom is having issues, and well, the dad is trying to hold everything together, but by the end, Emma's innocence literally bridges the gap between them. Moon Garden uses dream logic to process family pain. Every bizarre encounter reflects Emma's memories. For instance, her teeth monster might be inspired by Grandpa's dentures. That's a fun way to think about it. The lead characters in the dream, a pianist, a groom, a princess, have direct parallels to Emma's life and her father's stories. This is pretty similar to Pan's Labyrinth or Mirror Mask, where a child's fantasy world confronts real-world fears. You can really see the influences from Alice or Return to Oz. Those dark fairy tales with genuine darkness. It's less of a straight-up horror and more a fantastical odyssey filled with creepy imagery. But I will say, it is a horror. It's a good introductory to horror for kids. For the influences, we mentioned Mad God, Pan's Labyrinth, Mirror Mask. You might even spot some homages to Jack and the Beanstalk. So, should you watch Moon Garden? My final verdict, absolutely. All right, if you love atmospheric horror fantasy, it's a unique handcrafted film that stands apart in 2026. Metal rating, 10 out of 10. This movie is just... it's a beautiful nightmare to watch. The performances are amazing, the set pieces are amazing, the stop motion, the practical effects, it comes together culminating in this beautiful fantasy horror realm. It's really something to behold, and haven't seen anything like it since probably Pan's Labyrinth. Disturbing factor, let's say 9 out of 10, all right? The imagery is disquieting, especially the monster. Those who hate psychological creepiness should be aware. Replay value, 9 out of 10. There's a lot of detail to catch on second viewing. Plus, the music and visuals grow on you. You'll be watching it for the second time, looking in the backgrounds, trying to pick out little Easter eggs throughout the movie. This is a gem of a film. The journey is both eerie and touching. It never hit mainstream, but it ruled on creativity. It's for fans of Pan's Labyrinth, Mirror Mask, or even Coraline. Those who like child-centric surreal nightmares. Coraline has a very similar tone to this movie. Now, if you're into more slashers or jump scares, maybe this is a movie that you might want to skip. But I will say that give this movie a chance, check it out, because honestly, it's very, very good. And you can see how much passion they poured into this project. Be sure to stab that subscribe button, ring that bell, and as always, stay bloody, stay brutal, and keep it metal.